everybody, welcome back to the family channel.
Hello!
I hope you guys are having a fantastic day today, and today we're going to be reacting to most popular toys of the 1980s. Now guys, before we get into the video, please make sure to hit the subscribe button and like.
The most popular toys of the 1980s. The 1980s toy market was still in full swing. However, this decade would see some changes that would alter toys in the future. Many of the toys...
I just want to mention quickly, if you can hear a weird humming noise, we have got a fan blowing on us today because it is roasting in this room.
from this decade were actually popular toys that originated in previous decades. So if you do not see them in this video, there's a good chance they were in a previous episode. The 1980s.
We had G.I. Joe in South Africa.
Did you?
We
didn't.
No?
No, we were still in the communism, so we hardly had anything.
See some popular toys that were unlike anything else that had ever been released before.
Oh, we had this?
In today's video, we'll discuss some
well,
what is it?
I personally didn't have it. Few of my friends had it. They had very, rich parents.
What is it called?
Monchichi.
Is that how you say it?
And they had it, and I was so jealous because I really wanted it, and I never got to have it.
That thing's ugly.
Yeah.
It was so popular.
What does it do?
And you can put his thumb.
His thumb, yeah.
His thumb. His thumb in his mouth. It was so cute.
Monchichi.
I want
most
one.
popular toys of the 1980s, and by the end of the video, you'll be able to see how things start to change.
Toys R Us.
Trivial Pursuit is a board game that was released.
Sorry to pause again. I used to sell a lot of stuff on eBay, and I'd go to the car boot sales, and I would sell these things constantly. And
what
even
is it?
Trivial Pursuit, it's like a board game. And if there was bits missing, you'd sell them off as spares. Like I'd sell the little pieces off as spares.
Oh.
In 1981, and the popularity grew fast. It was created in Canada in 1979 by Chris Haney, a photo editor for Montreal's The Gazette, and Scott Abbott, a sports editor for the Canadian Press. Winning the game is determined by a player's ability to answer general knowledge and popular culture questions.
I don't think I'd be really
Players move their pieces around a board and land on squares which determine the subject of a question that will be asked. The questions are on a card and can be from one of 6 categories, including history, science, and nature. Each correct answer earns a plastic wedge which is slotted into the player's game piece. Over the years, the game has remained popular, and dozens of new themed editions have been released. Some of these editions are for kids, baby boomers, or anyone in between. The game has also been released in 100 different editions in different languages around the world.
Wow.
Glowworm is a stuffed toy for young children which would light up when squeezed. It was released in 1982 by Hasbro's Play School division. Many kids saw it as a comforting companion while trying to go to sleep because the head glowed when it was squeezed. The toy was such a success that a musical version was then released along with storybooks, videos...
Just imagine you have that on the desk and then you turn your sides on the bed and he's just there smiling at you.
And other merchandise.
My Little
Pony is a toy line that was developed by Hasbro and released in 1982. It followed the original My Pretty Pony toy that was released in 1981. My Little Pony featured colorful bodies, manes, and a unique cutie symbol on one or both sides of the...
Funny enough, Leia had them, but she hardly played with them.
I think my kids have got my personality because I wasn't really big into toys. There was a few things that I really liked, but I wasn't really...
We have some...
I had my scary, the realistic baby thing.
Oh, it was horrible. You know, like one of those dolls that looks like a real baby. It was ugly, and then Leia made it worse. She gave it a haircut.
And it really looked like Chucky.
Yeah, it was a freaky little thing.
it was like Chucky, but from AliExpress.
Yeah, AliExpress Chucky.
From AliExpress.
No, we bought it from Toys R Us when it was still open.
I'm thinking about the one that I got from when I was 10 years old that you ordered me for my birthday.
I can't remember.
Oh,
yeah, then I used to have Gooey Louie. That was the thing when you...
with the bogies. Yeah, that was his favourite one.
That was my favourite. It was the best.
Flanks. Since its release, there have been numerous animations and merchandise released. My Little Pony has also changed over the years to keep their appeal to little girls. Each new incarnation
give them
is
a
known
haircut
as a
as
new
well?
generation.
Of course she
Care
did.
Bears were
Care Bears.
initially created in
I
1981
love
for
Care
use
Bears.
on
Care Bear
greeting
keychain.
cards from the company American
I used
Greetings.
to love watching it
In
on
September of
TV.
1982, the
Yeah.
characters were then produced as a toy line for Parker Brothers and then Kenner the following spring. Throughout the years, there have been several movies and television series along with various kinds of merchandise. The toy has remained
angry.
popular
Look at his
enough
eyes.
that some mothers have passed along their Care Bears to their daughters. There have been several generations and relaunches of the Care Bears throughout
But
the years.
nostalgic, eh?
Over 40 million Care Bears were sold between 1983 and 1987.
He-Man.
Masters of the Universe was a
Didn't our
sword
neighbor
and
give us
sorcery
that?
themed toy that was created by Mattel in 1981 and released in 1982.
It is He-Man.
The origins of the
I
toy-
used to love this show. There was a show. I never had the toy, but I had the. I used to watch like the cartoon, and I loved He-Man. I thought I was He-Man.
See? Yeah.
I'm Wee-Man.
We were locked up. We
Yeah.
had nothing. Only Monchichi.
Are somewhat fuzzy as there are several artistic designers that have made claim to the creation of the popular toy. Mattel created the action figures at a 5.5 inches scale as opposed to the 3 3/4 inches scale
There it
that
is.
Kenner was using for Star Wars figures. There were two main characters, which were He-Man and Skeletor, but there were also a line of other characters. Each figure came with its own mini-comic that explained some of the things that were going on. Eventually, DC Comics got onto the action, and there was also an animated series and a movie. There was
Yeah.
a re-release of the toy in the early 2000s, but it never quite caught on like it did in the 1980s. Cabbage Patch Kids
I
are a
had
line
one
of
of those.
cloth
You
dolls
did,
with
didn't
figures
you?
and heads.
did,
Didn't Janet give it to
actually.
you?
Yeah, I think so.
Our neighbor upstairs in England used to give Leia and Garen the most
Everything.
random stuff ever. Leia would
Yeah.
come home with like a bag of stuff and there'd be a rock in there and all sorts of weird stuff.
I
you know.
loved getting stuff from her though.
Like-
This
Tinsel.
ballerina thing, this glow.
but she
Oh,
gave
yeah.
that to me for for a present for my new room.
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Yeah. But
And I heard about this. Like, I don't know if it's the one that you put batteries in and it opens the mouth and you can feed it.
No,
No,
not
Because
this one.
so one of that
I
that
had
looked
that.
like that, apparently they got sued because it ate children's hair when they put it in there.
I ate their hair.
Yeah, like
That were first produced by Coleco Industries in 1982. This doll set every toy industry
that
sales
logo.
record for 3 years running and was
Wow.
one of the most popular lines of children's products in the 1980s. Each
Why is
doll
it so-
came with a birth
The
certificate
one
and
that used to
adoption
babysit
papers.
me, she had a lot of those.
Debbie.
Oh, Debbie,
Oh,
yeah.
Debbie, yeah,
Look
the
at
child
look at that.
Oh my.
I love old photos.
I love
Public
those
went
photos as
so
well.
crazy over these dolls that they actually started rioting and fighting over them in stores, especially during the Black Friday season.
Oh,
The dolls were so successful that they actually canceled their advertising at one point because the company could not
Holy
keep up with the
smokes.
demand.
Wow.
Somehow, Coleco eventually filed for bankruptcy and Hasbro took over the dolls.
How did they go bankrupt?
Since then, the dolls have switched hands numerous times,
Excuse
but
me.
they are still being produced by Wicked Cool Toys. But in the
Cool Toys.
1980s, they were king, and every little girl wanted one of these Cabbage Patch dolls. Stompers were created in 1980 by an A. Eddie Goldfarb and
$7.99.
sold by Shaper Toys.
Expensive.
They were battery-powered 4x4 vehicles that ran on a single AA-powered battery.
talking cars. Garen, he had so many cars.
Yeah, we got an awesome remote control.
Never played with
I
one.
remember.
No, I had lots of remote control cars, and all of them broke.
Yeah,
Oh, I lost the control.
they didn't just break. They don't just break.
Yeah, like literally, they would be in a box, these cars.
I
And
remember-
I was like, Garen, come on, let's go and play with the cars.
No.
No.
I remember when we were here and we had friends like right in front of our house, and he gave Garen this
Oh.
humongous lorry thing that we took home to England. It was like this.
Did you take it home?
Yeah.
It was
The
like
yellow
it
one.
was like
Yeah.
this huge.
Oh,
Yeah,
It was-
and it just
and it
sat
just
there.
sat under the bed. Was
Yeah.
that from? I didn't know that was from
Yeah,
here. I
yeah.
wondered where that came from.
In the UK, they were called Trekkers and marketed by Corgi
It's like
Toys.
Hot Wheels, no?
The original vehicles were the Chevy K10
Weird
Scottsdale,
tires.
Chevy Blazer, Dodge Warlock, Ford Bronco,
They're pretty cool
and Jeep
looking.
Poncho. Later on, other vehicles and stunt sets were also introduced, as well as foam tires. Newer models were given 2 speeds and even a neutral position so that they could be played with without battery power in case the batteries ran out. These toys were very popular in the 1980s amidst the growing popularity of monster trucks and Bigfoot. Pound Puppies were created by Mike Bowling in 1984 and were first sold by Irwin Toys in Toronto, Canada. After Irwin, the line was produced by Tonka, which introduced them to the U.S. market. The toys became
you had
so
the similar ones that Bubby gave you. I think you had one each.
Yeah,
the dog with the big brown ears.
I think we still got them.
No, I think we left them in the UK.
No, we brought them here, but I think I just chucked them when I was clearing.
That a TV special aired in 1985, followed by a television series in 1986. In 1988, there was even a movie released. As with many toys of the time, there was other merchandise such as little golden books, shirts, coloring books, and folders. In 1987, Hardee's and Pizza Hut offered them with their children's meals. Pound Puppies remained popular well into the 1990s until they were discontinued in 2002. However, in 2014, the toys were reintroduced, but never were quite as popular as they were in the 1980s. A koosh ball is a toy made of...
I think everyone's had these. These things are awesome. You
not
just
me.
stretch them. You didn't have them?
No.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. That had a wooden block.
Of rubber filaments radiating out from a steel-bound core, and it was
We had that
patented
one.
in 1987
We had the
by
exact
Scott
same
H.
one.
Stillinger.
And I tell you,
The ball consists of about 2,000
I
rubber
think we had
filaments
the
and was
orange
released in a
one.
variety of colors. Eventually, the balls were also made into key rings, yo-yos, and even baseball and tennis sets. Koosh balls were originally produced by Odds On Products, Inc., but now are produced by Hasbro. Rainbow Bright is a media franchise by Hallmark Cards and was introduced in 1983. There was an animated television series that first aired in 1984, which was the same year that Hallmark licensed Rainbow Bright to Mattel for a range of dolls and other merchandise.
What even is that?
In 1985, a movie was released, and in 2014 and 2015, there were attempts to reintroduce Rainbow Bright to the
no,
world,
that's just
but
scary.
it wasn't met with as much popularity
That's
as it was in the 80s. Teddy Ruxpin was an animated children's toy which looked like a bear, and it featured a mouth and eyes which would react to stories played on a cassette tape player built into the back of...
You know, when the mouth and that moves and the eyes. I really didn't like those things. They
You know they
freaked
did,
me
but
out.
you know
Scare you.
I just didn't feel comfortable.
You know the Christmas the
Yeah.
figures that we got.
Yeah, we've got these things that you push the foot and
And
they'll
they
sing
go
Christmas
rocky.
song. I hate them.
And I have
love
the
them.
one. It's a happy one.
Yeah.
And his mouth open, and I
he's
always
like-
stick my finger.
I
in
always
the
stick my
mouth.
finger in
Dolls as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and then we had the penguin, but that one broke.
Yeah,
those
I
things
miss the
freak me out.
penguin. I
Teddy.
love that one. That was my favorite.
At the peak of its popularity, Teddy Ruxpin became the best-selling toy of 1985
You
and
put that in the back.
1986. And yes, you may have guessed it, but he even had his own animated television series at one
I
time.
think you put it in your
The
back.
toy was originally produced by Worlds of Wonder, but is currently being produced by Wicked Cool Toys.
Wicked
The
cool
cassette
toys. I've
tape
never
deck
heard of that
is long
company.
gone,
It's
though.
mentioned a few times.
Garbage Pail
Garbage Pail
Kids was a
Kids.
series of sticker trading cards produced by the
And
Topps
bubblegum.
Company and originally
Look
released
how
in
dodgy it was.
1985.
Guillotina.
It was designed to parody the Cabbage Patch Kids
Rapid
dolls,
Richard?
which were super popular with girls at the time, so boys everywhere were buying them and showing them off to
Look, it's part of her
girls.
face.
Each card featured a character with some sort of abnormality or
Centipede.
wordplay. Eventually,
No,
Cabbage
I've
Patch
heard of
Kids
it, though.
sued
Eating a
Topps
head.
over the trademark infringement.
Junk food, John.
This led to a change of the
teeth.
resemblance of the characters as well as the logo design. By 1988, sales had dwindled so much that the series stopped completely.
Oh.
Since 2000, there have been several attempts to revive the once popular cards, but they have never quite caught on like they did in the 1980s. Micro Machines were a really popular
I had
tiny
Micro
toy
Machines.
card that was released.
My nana bought these for me.
Really?
Yeah, I never played with them, but like I had them. I even had that same box, like that set thing.
Really?
My dad's mum, yeah, she bought them for me. From
in
Reggie's.
1987
in
by
South Africa.
Galoob, which is now part of Hasbro. These tiny vehicles were further popularized by commercials which were famously done by the actor John Machida Jr. At the time, he was listed as the Guinness Book of World Records fastest
Like
talker.
this.
The product also had a catchy slogan which was, remember, if it doesn't say Micro Machines, it's not the real thing. These
Very
tiny
catchy.
cars are still being manufactured today.
Still
Power Wheels
today.
is a brand of battery-powered ride-on toy cars
always
for
wanted
kids
one.
under
I
7.
always wanted.
You
had one.
One.
The quad. I've got a photo of you on that.
You had
Did
the
I?
quad,
Yes.
yeah.
Red one.
I was so jealous of you.
And again, he used it twice.
Wait, I didn't use that much.
Twice. I know. I paid a fortune for the thing.
I want that now.
It was a little battery one.
I remember in our garden we had those cars that we moved with Duffy. I
Oh
love
yeah,
those.
Those
like
ones.
Flintstone cars.
Yeah.
7 years of age. The brand name dates back to 1984 when the San Francisco-based toy
Looks
company
happy.
I just
Transco
wanted to
acquired
say that.
Heinz of America, makers of battery-powered vehicles for kids.
There you go, eh?
2 years
There's
later,
one for
Transco
you.
renamed the line Power
Oh, you can
Wheels.
see me cruising
The
down
toys were
the middle.
manufactured with
I still can't
realistic
believe I
features,
didn't use
including in
it.
some cases
Look, you get yourself a girlfriend, go for a round around the village.
In a Jeep?
Yeah, going 4 kilometers an hour.
Not even.
working CB radios, working FM radios, opening doors and hoods, and it also had a reverse
Me and my
and
friends could go
forward
in there.
speeds. By 1990,
Can we go
sales
to
of the
town?
battery-powered vehicles reached
We don't need
over
no
1
train.
million per year. Throughout the years, the vehicles have remained popular, and they still have many different models that are being produced.
I'm gonna buy my kid.
GoBots were a line of transforming robot toys similar to Hasbro's Transformers,
I've
but
seen
these were
those. I've
produced
never
by
had that,
Tonka
though.
from 1983 to 1987. However, GoBots became property of Hasbro after their buyout of Tonka in 1991. GoBots were part of the 80s robot sensation that swept the United States for a short
Oh
time.
yeah, those were like cars.
The
that were
line
turned
sold
into
well
robots.
initially, but
like
was
Transformers.
overtaken by
Yeah.
Transformers. Hanna-Barbera produced a cartoon series called Challenge of the GoBots, which ran for 65 episodes from 1984 to 1985.
Okay.
For the most part, GoBots have
Look
now
at
just
that.
become a
Can
small
you imagine
part
getting that for Christmas now? Like now, obviously on Christmas, you would be so peed off because it's not even a. It's just like a little watch.
Does it show the time?
No.
Yeah, obviously it
Yeah,
shows the
but
time.
At that time, if he would get this,
Yeah.
B would like.
I remember
Love
getting a
it.
little green
I mean,
watch.
I would appreciate. I basically appreciate.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, but I mean,
Yeah.
you'd be like, oh, thank you.
Yeah.
What does it do? How do you go on the internet? How do I watch TikTok?
of the
Oh, it's called
Transformers
TikTok.
throughout the
TikTok
years.
friendly robot.
Transformers took the world by storm in the 1980s. They were toys
It's
that
not
could be
really
changed from
off.
cars or planes and into robots, thus the name Transformers was given to them.
Ooh,
It's
those
kind
are
of like
cool.
playing with two different toys at the
I
same
heard.
time.
No,
In
those
Japan,
are-
they were produced by Takara Tomy, and in the US and worldwide, they were produced by Hasbro. Because of their transforming abilities, they
hearing
also
Hasbro a
came up
lot.
with some catchy phrases, which were more than meets the eye and robots in disguise. Transformers were divided into two sides,
Bless
which
you.
were Autobots, who were heroic, and Decepticons, which were the evil opponents. They were so popular that there was an animation television series, movie, serial, and various other types of merchandise. In more recent times, it gave way to a live-action film and a resurgence to the toys, but the 80s were Transformers all the way.
Yes!
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles
I was gonna just say, I can't believe they haven't showed Ninja Turtles yet. This is the first movie, when they brought out the Ninja Turtles movie, it was the first movie I ever saw in the cinema.
Is that
And
why
I
you
was
always
dressed up.
mention them?
I was dressed up as
Michelangelo.
Michelangelo. He's the party dude. Oh, I used to
Wait.
love it. I can't remember.
Michelangelo, the purple one.
Uh-huh.
The purple one.
Leonardo,
No, Leonardo's blue.
purple one. Who is he? Do you know?
Michelangelo, Leonardo, Donatello, Raphael.
Do you
were a
know
group
that?
of
What was
four
the
And where's
rest of
who
them?
were
Splinter?
also trained in ninjutsu. They were named
Splinter
Leonardo,
does, no?
Donatello,
Oh, yeah,
Raphael,
Donatello.
and Michelangelo,
Michelangelo.
and Splinter was their sensei. They made their appearance in comic books in 1984 and eventually
love
made their way to
Ninja Turtles.
toys, cartoons, and even films. The toys have been produced by the
That's
company
scary.
Playmates Toys since 1988. The turtle craze was so huge that it landed a huge array of merchandise from
Where's
shirts,
Splinter?
backpacks, hats,
that him?
underwear, sheets, and so much
I
more.
had that.
Their popularity did
underwear,
not
I
dwindle,
remember.
and it even grew
I
stronger in the
remember.
1990s until they hit a dry spell for a couple years in 1996. In 2003, there was a slight resurgence of the series and toys, and in 2014, a movie was even released. Throughout the
That
years,
was
the
scary.
characters have remained...
No, hold on. There was a movie released way before 2014
Yeah.
because, Like, I didn't
I
watch
know
my
I watch
first movie.
series on a TV.
Yeah, they're like the cartoon.
What's
Yeah.
it?
That looks
They
scary.
look really
Oh,
scary.
I love
I
that.
used to love watching it.
I love it.
Popular with kids and
Is that
with
right?
See if I
kids
can
that are
find the
still young
movie
at
from the
heart.
80s, like early
The
90s.
Nintendo Entertainment System
There you
is
go,
an
Gary,
8-bit
Nintendo.
third-generation video
I
game
remember I
console
used to
that was
play that
produced
a
by
And I
Nintendo.
mainly used to play
Wii, the Wii.
The next one is the one I had.
Play.
Game Boy.
No.
Yeah, you had that and you gave
Didn't
it
you
to
give
our
it-
cousins.
No, but I mean when I was a kid. And I used to play
Yeah.
Mario.
And you gave it to our cousin.
Oh
We
yeah, I
had
bought one, like a retro one.
Yeah.
Was it? Did it
And
work even?
on my control, there was teeth marks all along here when I would die. I'd be like, ah. But they would break all the time, these things. You take the cartridge out and you go, you put it back in and it works.
First released in Japan as a family computer commonly known as the Famicom in 1983.
Oh man, I really
The
want
system
one of those.
became the best-selling
one.
video
This is
game
my final
console
one.
in Japan by the end of
Pew-pew.
1984. In June of 1985, Nintendo unveiled the American version of the Famicom.
Oh, I love that game.
The system
old
was
one.
placed in test markets starting in New York City in October of 1985 and released
79,
nationwide in
99 back then,
1986 with
Look at all the
17
prices.
different games.
$39.99
Wow.
for a joystick in the 80s or early 90s. That's a lot of money,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Flipping heck.
$20 for a joystick.
If you know what that is in today's money, let us know.
Nintendo revitalized the video game system industry that had crashed in
Game Boy.
1983. Within a couple of
Game
years,
Boy.
the system had taken over the gaming world and made Super Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt a
love
household
this.
name.
That's my favorite.
So many
Duck
people
Hunt, I
believed
used
the
to
game
play that.
system
The dog would come
fade,
up and
but
go-
Nintendo
If you missed. I think it did that if you
everybody
missed.
wrong. The word
it is.
Nintendo brings up happy memories of
I
playing
love that
games
game.
with family and friends. The Game Boy was another 8-bit video game innovation by Nintendo. It was first released in Japan in April of 1989 and then in North America 3 months later. It would be
Tetris.
more than a year later.
Apparently now you can get Game Boy for like $15.
I don't know, but I had one of those. My nano game, my mum's mum this time got it for me. It was a yellow one. And I loved it, but the batteries would always die.
Really?
Yeah,
Before
it
it
didn't
gets
last
released
long.
in Europe. It was a simple game system
Like
in
that.
which the
See?
screen was a
No
dull
color
green
screen,
dot
dude.
matrix. It quickly became
green,
a
no
smash hit and outsold
green and
any
black.
of the competition that came out,
Yeah.
including ones that had color screens. The Game Boy went on selling through the
Yeah, the
90s and
stacking
defined
game.
that
Tetris.
decade as well.
That's
The 1980s produced some incredible toys, and many of them are collector's items.
Oh, that looks real.
Some of the popular toys are still being
That's
made
hilarious,
today
Lee.
and are just
It's so true though. Hey, we had it like that was a simpler time.
It was. See, like me and my sister, we had few toys, but we proper treasured them. Proper.
Yeah, I would treasure some things. Like other things, I wasn't too keen on. Like I just let
Yeah.
Put
So
them
I
away.
think that was good because nowadays kids literally get everything and they
PlayStations, computers,
they
phones.